Hey y'all, it's a big back and we just got 1170 and of course I couldn't wait to talk about it. First we gotta start with the cover art and it's just Jinbei as a station attendant feeding the young versions of the Straw Hats except Brooke and Frankie. I'm not sure why they're omitted, but it's still adorable seeing the Straw Hats and the younger selves again. We start back with Loki tussling with Ragnar, and we learn that Ragnar is the sole protector of the ancient devil fruit, and it's been that way for hundreds of years. No one's been able to eat it, and that's because Ragnar hasn't found a worthy person for them to eat it. And the castle itself is done gotten so weakened after all the chaos. Ragnar falls from underneath the ground and creates a massive hole, and Loki and Ragnar fall through it. Honestly, I'm still shocked that the castle is still holding itself together after so much, with Harold and then Gabon and Shanks helping out, with so much Conqueror's hockey going through the castle. I'm shocked that it's still standing, but I guess since it's an Elbap castle, it can withstand a lot more than other castles. With Harold's new given powers, he's hell bent on eating the fruit, but Gabon and Shanks are able to attack him once more. That's when we learn more about how we can attack these certain individuals, not with just throwing barrage of attacks infused with Conqueror's hockey. It'll incapacitate them for a moment. Shanks is of course curious how Gabon knows the weakness of God's Knight, and that's when Gabon reveals that not once but possibly multiple times the God's Knights trying to take back Shanks from the Roger Pirates, and them making him flee, I guess. It does take Shanks back to a time he had a conversation with Summers, and I guess he alluded to the fact he was one of those God's Knights that tried to take him back when he was a kid, but unfortunately the Roger Pirates wasn't having it. It does take Gabon back to the old days and him reminiscing, and also he's kind of shocked that the Celestial Dragons have a combat force within them, with him just thinking that they're just full of greedy, snobby, gluttonous, all the above, and just think of themselves as gods and not really ever going down to the surface world. And of course, this brings back that nagging feeling within Shanks of him thinking that could have easily been him if either he stayed with Shamrock on God Valley, or if the God's Knights were able to take him back. But Gabon just chalks it up as fate working for him in his favor. Shanks still wants to help Harold in any way he can, but Gabon even tells him that it was Shanks that told him about the consequences of becoming a God's Knight. So honestly, it's solely in Loki's hands. And we cut back to Loki, and he's still struggling with Ragnar. and he gives it one last swing, and that causes his hammer to break. But it also causes Ragnar to turn into its Zoan form, which is a little bitty squirrel. That being the possible Ratataskar mythical Zoan. So, cause first we see it with as a squirrel, and then it still has the the Ragnar hammer part with the little knot, and then then it turns just into the itty bitty squirrel. And with Loki able to give Ragnar a knot on his head and turn back into his own form, it basically earns Loki's respect, and he's able to eat the fruit. Gabon and Shanks and the guards are still trying to subdue Harold in some way, but come to find out, well, we already knew this, but of course Harold has Conqueror's hockey, just like we saw that clash with Zebek, and of course with him having Conqueror's hockey, it just nullifies what Gabon and Shanks are doing. Like I said, Loki is able to eat the fruit with Ragnar's blessing, and then he starts transforming into this beast that has very sharp claws and spikes coming out of him, possibly. This could either be the Fenrir fruit or even the Nidhogg mythical fruit. I'm more leaning towards the Nidhogg mythical fruit with because I'm possibly sure that it's already some type of Fenrir wolf down in the underground realm, and just with how enormous Loki has gotten, just from the shadow and silhouettes, it just seems like that's the way Oda decided to go. We even see Ragnar jumping with joy as Loki's transforming. So I guess they're very satisfied with how this played out. Harold realizes that Loki's eating the fruit, and he seemingly swings at what appears to be Loki in his own form, but it doesn't do jack squat, and he ends up with claw markings throughout his body, and even at one point gets his head palmed by Loki, and we're able to see more of the shape of what Loki's turned into, with the ears being pointed upwards. Loki turns back into himself while holding Ragnar, and as he's winding up with Conqueror's hockey infused with Ragnar, Harold acknowledges that Loki has Conqueror's blood in his veins. Harold is somewhat back to his senses for just a moment, just to have some final words for Loki. Of course, Loki thinks that he was being controlled completely, but Harold explains that that thing influenced him and made him think that he was himself a god. Again, he wishes for Loki and Hydruden to take control of Elbath and run it the way that he wanted it to. And he also wishes them just to get along better as brothers. Loki is very much furious as he has to be the one to end his father, and not him even thinking that the worst parents wouldn't make the kid do such a thing. But Harold actually thanks Loki for sticking up for Ida when she was poisoned, and even though burning down the village or forest wasn't gonna bring her back, it's Harold was still very much appreciative for what Loki was able to do. With the domain coming back, it's time for Loki to do that thing. And even though he says that he's gonna forever hold a grudge against Harold, Harold basically just takes that as "I love you" and says it right back to Loki as Loki strikes him down. Just as he's swinging and attacking his dad, we see tears flowing down his face, and of course this is very heartbreaking for Loki, having knowing lost his mom, which I'm gonna claim is always gonna be Ida. He has to take down his dad in the worst way possible. He even reminisces back to when he was a kid, and Harold still having that same belief in wanting to have Elbath in a better future, and even years later having that same dream, but unfortunately not being able to see it through. Very action packed and very emotional driven chapter. It was a ride seeing Harold from when he was a young one, and seeing him grow into this king. It is very tragic, but still, it was still. I'm very appreciative to see it, and I really feel for Loki, and I just hope he's able to just live the way Harold wanted him to. I would say we have maybe half a chapter or a full chapter left in this flashback, and then we're gonna jump right back to the present day and see how Hadruden and the others react to what Loki's said about what really went down in that castle. But y'all let me know, what you think of 1170, and how you feel about Harold from the beginning and now, and how you feel about Ragnar being a little bitty squirrel. Let me know in the comments. And a very special thank you to my viewers and my subscribers. We passed 50 the other day, and I'm just enjoying every single day growing with y'all. Thank you so much, and I'll get back at y'all.